My job in this video is to present to you my perspectives on these limiting beliefs because you probably have said at least one of these beliefs in your life before, and I'm here to give you my perspective on this matter that could maybe shift how you approach these phrases every time you find yourself saying these things. I'm not perfect. I say these same things in my life, but it's all about how you frame these words and understand the underlying meaning behind them. Because I see most people saying these words, but they don't actually know exactly what they mean. And I think I've figured out a couple of these phrases, and I think you guys could get some value from this. And we're gonna actually rate each one of these from S tier, as in massively horrible way to put what you're trying to say, to kind of like D tier, which is like, okay, yeah, what is being said is actually what's being said. Let me think about it some more. This is something I think we all have said in our lives. Oh, here's this new opportunity. Well, let me just think about it some more. All this is doing is deferring your action to a later point. And it signals an indecision with your ability to execute quickly on a matter. And I think it's a very important life skill to be able to recognize when it's important to strike quickly versus when you should take a more systematic, let me think about it approach. My argument to whenever I find myself saying something like this, let me think about it some more, is figure out what is the smallest action I can do right now to build some meaningful progress toward that goal that I am thinking about. Because thinking about it can just cause you to table this idea for later, and then you never approach the problem ever again. And if it's actually something important that your subconscious is trying to defer by saying, let me think about it, really reconsider if this is something you're actually going to rethink about later, if it's even important to consider. If it is important, then you should do something immediately to, put this idea from ideation to action as quick as possible. So let me think about it is a very dangerous idea that could lead you to forget what really matters and what you really wanted to do. So this is definitely an A tier in terms of it being misaligned with, what you're actually saying with those words, because it's a very dangerous phrase that I think we catch a lot of us say far too often. Another one of my favorite phrases, I don't know where to start. Because it's a very dangerous phrase to say, because you don't know where to start, fine. But let's take an example of when you were an infant and you tried learning how to walk. When you were a baby, did you just say, I don't know how to walk, therefore I don't know how I'm going to do it, therefore you never do it ever? No, as a baby, you just started walking. You would fall, you would stumble, you wouldn't figure it out instantly, of course, but over time, you'd see yourself, after a month of trying to walk, you'll actually be able to walk pretty damn good. And that's why all of us today, I'm standing here and I can move around, because I stopped saying, I don't know how to do something, and just started trying to figure it out. Not knowing how to do something is just a signal to your mind that tells you, hey, we need to start building something here to get more evidence to how we're going to move forward. Think of this thing that you don't know how to start as like a giant fog around you. You're looking around, you can only see 6 inches around you, and you don't know where to start. It doesn't matter. You start walking in any direction, and you start getting a bigger mental map of where you want to go in your life. So as you walk through this fog, you start remembering, okay, I took 5 steps this way. This looks good. Actually, no, this is bad. I'm going to walk back and go this way. But you would have never figured out to go this way unless you tried going this way and figured out that that wasn't the right way. So I don't know where to start is very dangerous, because I think it could lead you to just not acting on what you really want to do. So this is definitely an A tier belief that needs to be corrected. So this phrase is very interesting. Success isn't for me because of insert limiting reason why. I mean, we can play with that phrase in many different ways, but in essence, it's trying to justify reasons as to why you can't do something or shouldn't, or it's too late to, and then you justify this in your day-to-day actions, and then you never end up doing this thing that you said you wanted to do. This one is also very devious, because you're using your greatest asset, your mind, to validate reasons why you're not going to start something, which is very backwards in terms of what you ultimately want to do this thing, right? Whatever it is. But you're justifying reasons why you're not going to do it, why you can't, why you're too young, why you're too dumb, why you don't have enough money, why you don't have enough friends, whatever it is. You justify yourself these reasons, and your brain is very powerful. It subconsciously is going to reinforce in your mind that this is something you can't do, shouldn't do, And your subconscious is going to say, okay, what's the data we've been thinking about on this idea? Well, okay, for the past year, we've been coming up with reasons not to do something. Therefore, this must be an action that we don't want to do, or it's bad, that we'll never try again. And then you see how your brain will just never prompt you to be conducive to finding the solution or taking action on the problem. Forget about why you can't do something. We can all come up with reasons why we can't do a certain thing in our life. But I think it takes a lot more willpower, and it's a much more powerful way to use your mind by giving yourself reasons why you can do it and why you should start doing it. This is something that's been on your mind, instead of saying, I can't do this because I don't have enough money, you flip it into a strength. I don't have enough money, therefore I have nothing to lose on this matter. Therefore I can try strategies that may fail, but the good news is that I won't lose money because I don't have any money. So you see how we took this con of I'm not going to do something because I don't have any money into I'm going to do it because I don't have any money and I have nothing to lose. And now your brain is going to be a lot more at work in the right direction of where you want to go. This is given you want to actually solve the problem and not just talk about, I guess venting about you wanting to do this, but you'll never actually do it. So this is definitely I would definitely give this like a B tier belief, because there is quite a big reframe that we have to make here, that changing from what I can't do to what you should do. And this reframing of your mindset is very powerful. So that's a very solid B tier kind of reframe of mindset. It's a little bit less problematic for most people. That's why I put it in B tier, because you really have to be thinking about it. And it's usually people who are overthinking about certain things who don't take action. So it's a smaller kind of subset, but still a very important reframe that if you do have this kind of thing you keep saying, should consider reframing it. All right, this is one of my most favorite ones. Money doesn't make you happy. So this is a very dangerous logical trap I think a lot of people get stuck into. And we got to reframe what most people think of when they say money doesn't make you happy. Because what is money? Money is a store of value. In a sense, it is a value voucher. When you receive money, someone thought you provided value to them, and they gave you these little things that we use in society called money to keep track and keep score of people's progress and kind of contribution to society. So when people say money doesn't make you happy, that's like saying providing value to society doesn't make you happy, and value comes from purpose. There's a reason why you're here. There's a reason why you're watching this video. You have a purpose in your life, and maybe you're trying to learn more from my perspective. So you have a purpose you're trying to go after to create value in society, and you get rewarded in this thing called money. So when people say money doesn't make you happy, it's a very surface level thing that doesn't talk about what actually is the point of receiving money in the first place. Sure, if you win the lottery and win, $50 million for no reason, I mean, that's a big reason why most of these lottery winners become broke, because they didn't have a purpose behind that money. There was no purpose behind it. They just had money fall in their lap. And so they have no purpose. They spend it all, and then they get into this depression spiral of like, what am I doing with my life? Exactly. What are you doing with your life? What is your purpose? So money doesn't make you happy is kind of the wrong way to look at it. It's more of like purpose and fulfillment and creating value in whatever domain you have. It can be being a really good painter. It could be a great historian of remembering all factual events and, speaking at events. Providing value is what makes you happy and fulfilled in your life. So money doesn't make you happy is kind of a belief that just sort of kills. Like, if you believe this idea, you're never going to find your purpose and trying to contribute to society. And so you will never provide value and you won't be happy. So it's kind of like a lose-lose advice of like, money doesn't make you happy, so then I shouldn't make money. I should create value in society. So now you're just a valueless person who doesn't want to do anything bigger with your life. And I think it's a very dangerous idea that can catch you in this spiral of not actually being productive and being useful and achieving your fullest potential. So yeah, I would definitely say this is an S tier kind of reframe of money doesn't make you happy, because you got to look under the real reasons of what money is, and it's creation of value. So that's an S tier reframe I think you guys should consider. Success will come. Don't worry. I hear this a lot of like, don't worry, life will figure itself out. And I think there's a lot of truth in that statement. But there is something I want to bring to your attention of what's underneath the just live life and things will figure out as they kind of come. Because it's sort of true. If you live your life and go through your life You will learn things and be exposed to opportunities that allow you to find your purpose. Yes, I agree completely with that advice of you need to be in the world to find your purpose. You can't just lock yourself in a prison cell for 30 years and expect your purpose to just come out of nowhere. No, you're traveling, you're going to school, you're working, you're talking with people, you're going to parties, you're going to conferences, whatever your purpose and whatever your interests are. By working on these interests, you open up new doors and new pathways in your life. You gain more experience, and yes, things will sort of figure themselves out. But the big thing you want to be mindful of when things will just figure themselves out, what are you doing on a daily, weekly, or monthly kind of basis to kind of be conducive to figuring yourself out? Because with my prison cell example, you're not going to find your purpose sitting in a dark room for 40 years. Read a book by Dostoevsky, Notes from the Underground. It's a very interesting book about that idea of, locking yourself and expecting life to come at you. But you need to go live in life. And yes, I think things will figure themselves out if you actively contribute and actively look for answers and seek purpose in life versus trying to wait for life to come to you. You need to have a proactive approach to this. And then, yes, I agree that, things will figure themselves out in due time. So this is definitely a C tier reframe. You got to be careful of kind of what is being said underneath the surface here, but for the most part, it is sound advice. I don't have enough time. I think you should look underneath what I don't have enough time really means. What it really means is this is not a priority in my life. Your time is your most valuable asset, and you spend it whether you like it or not. Time is something that's always moving. You can't just pause time like a YouTube video and rewind and do like this is something that you always constantly live throughout your entire life. So when you don't have enough time, we all have the exact same amount of time and progressing at the exact same rate of time that's passing. So you don't have enough time doesn't make any sense when you see it in this lens. What it really means is it's not a priority. Because if it really was a priority, you wouldn't care about when to do it. You would immediately do it. Imagine I told you that if you were to watch this YouTube video to the end, you would be given $10 million. Of course, you would forget everything else you're doing and immediately finish this YouTube video. And so going off of my YouTube video example, imagine if someone tapped you on the back and said, hey, can you go do this thing for me? Like, can you go do your laundry right now? You say, no, I'm finishing this YouTube video because I'm about to get $1 million. Because finishing my video is a priority. So whenever you catch yourself saying, I don't have enough time, make sure you reframe this into is it a priority for me right now or is it not? Because that's what you're really saying by that. This is definitely an A tier reframe because time is not the factor here when you say this. I don't know why everyone says this. It is your level of prioritization because everyone has the same amount of time. So this is definitely an A tier right there. Here's a good one. Everyone else has already done it, so therefore I won't do X. This is similar to our previous example of coming up with reasons why not to do something instead of doing or coming up with reasons to do something. Leveraging your brain for negative manifestation instead of positive manifestation. But this of saying the idea that someone has already done it, so therefore I'm not going to do it. You have to think that the person you're referring to who has already done it, they were in your exact shoes one day. And one day they decided to just start doing it. They didn't think about the end goal. They just thought about doing it. And then by them doing it, they put their head up after a few months and they say, wow, I've come so far. So whenever you have this goal of yours and you say that someone else has already done it and therefore I'm not going to do it, I think that's a massive disservice to you and your individuality because you are born with your brain. No one else has your brain. So find a way to use your brain and put a spin on whatever you're saying is already done. You're not supposed to copy whatever this thing is, like one for one, but by you believing in yourself, betting on yourself that you're going to create something unique, that is where real progress happens. The founders of Stripe, the founders of, Palantir, all these people, they didn't just believe, hey, someone else has done this or it's not going to work. They found reasons to do it, and they didn't limit themselves saying, hey, this is something other people have tried doing and failed, therefore I'm going to fail. or said that, hey, this is not worth doing because no one else has done it. No, they just simply went and acted and believed in themselves and bet on themselves to get that thing done. So think in your life, what areas are you under betting on yourself in your journey to wherever you want to be? This is probably a B tier reframe. I think it's a less common reframe for people, but it's still a very important one. Get rich quick. That's a big buzzword nowadays. Everyone's talking about it. Everyone has their own opinion on getting rich quick, what it is, does it exist, is it a scam? You know, I want to dive into the actual meaning behind that and what it really means and how to reframe if you desire to, let's just say, get rich quick, what it really means. Because what people are saying with get rich quick is that I want my current life or I want immediate success. And then they forget the in between of, getting rich quick, you could say is like winning the lottery. Well, it's like, okay, and you would rather have your current life or massive success, and there's no in between. But the path to success is that in between of growing, learning, creating impact, seeing where you can provide to society, and by fusing these things together and growing as an individual, you bridge the gap between your goals of what does it mean to get rich quick. You want money, you want freedom, you want time, location, agency, whatever that reason is for you. I think it's a broader idea in society that we either want the solution now or no solution at all. And I think the real progress is in this middle ground of, working and trying new things and, putting effort behind it. So getting rich quick is the wrong phrasing. I would say get rich easy is what get rich quick really means. And then people forget that, there are places in life where you can get rich quick. It's just not easy. And then people get caught up in the easy part and then they, you know, forget about it. So if this idea of this get rich quick thing, whatever it is, you'll see many of these things as you go through your life. You have to ask yourself, is it easy as well? Is it quick and easy? Then it's something to stay away from. You know, unless you're just heavily in a network and you just know exactly what right move to make. But with most people, they get sucked into the allure of quick and easy, and then they forget the entire purpose of life, which is to build meaning and value in society to get the money. So I think it's a backwards mentality, and I think it's a very common thing that we hear every day, get rich quick, but there's a lot of more meaning underneath that statement that you guys can consider. So that's definitely an S tier reframe. I hear this every day, and there's a lot more meaning behind what the phrase get rich quick. Life is unfair. This is a very common phrase as well, and it's very true. On the basis of life is yes, I mean life is unfair. It's not inherently equal. People aren't born on equal levels, and I mean that is a facet of life. Uh, Now, I like to believe things that are conducive to my growth. Some people don't, and I think that's a problem. But it's their life, not mine. I like to believe and turn ideas into how does this serve me? How does this idea that life isn't fair serve me? Well, take whatever deficiencies or strengths you have and form them all into strengths. So if life is unfair, you don't feel like you're smart, you feel like you're behind, depending on where you were born. These are all reasons you could say that life is unfair, and then create reasons to justify why you shouldn't do things or you are destined for, mediocrity or being insignificant. And you see this earlier point we talked about of coming up with reasons to justify why you're not going to do something. It's the same line of thinking. Life is unfair, therefore I'm going to leverage my inability to, or my belief that I am not smart, to go read books every single day or on the weekend, and develop my skill set in a very narrow field and just become so specialized in it that regardless of my general intelligence, I know this idea, really well, more than the average person. You know, that doesn't have to be your solution, but that's just an example to get you thinking in this direction of life is unfair. Okay, well, how do you get your unique benefit from this? Turn your weaknesses into strengths. If, I mean, I've read up several success stories of people who, go on to create, multi-billion dollar companies, and they didn't have any initial capital to develop this idea. And this actually, instead of saying, I don't have any money, therefore I can't pursue this idea, and therefore, I'm destined for mediocrity, they built the skill set of resourcefulness, of trying every single angle and seeing what sticks. And through developing that skill set, because they recognize that they don't have money, a deficiency you can consider a problem, and they develop the skill set and turn it into a strength that ultimately is what caused them to be successful. you see this reframe of how life is unfair turns into actually your greatest asset if you really think about it. So on principle, I can't disagree that life is unfair. So I would definitely give this like a C tier ranking. It's mostly true in what it means, but there is definitely another layer as we discussed here as to how to flip it to your strength. But I mean, on the surface, life is unfair. So, you know, do with that information how you wish. So I think we talked about a lot of concepts here. Pick which ones resonate most with you, maybe the ones you catch yourself saying a lot, and yeah, try to adopt this reframe. I hope this video gave you a new perspective on these phrases. Maybe you reconsider how to think about these phrases when you find yourself saying them. So yeah, if you like this content, like this video, subscribe to the channel. I'll have more videos like this coming your way. So peace out.